Welcome to Martha Runs the World, a podcast with a new take on running, fitness, and all things health-oriented. I'm Martha Hughes, your host, and each week I present a new topic that is of interest to all runners. If you would like to do more to help out the show, consider becoming a Patreon patron. For as little as $2 a month, you can show your support, and it would be a huge help. You'll get your name read aloud on the show, as well as get to hear extra episodes that will never be aired anyplace else. If you give at the $5 or $10 a month levels, I'll send you free gear. Go to the website martharunstheworld.com and click on the Patreon button. Thank you. Welcome to episode 149 of Martha Runs the World. Have you ever thought of doing something different? Maybe something really, really different, like taking a few months off work, maybe quitting your job entirely, going off on a trail, following a trail for days, for weeks, for months, getting a backpack and getting some supplies, a tent, a sleeping bag, and following that trail for a long time, maybe going on a big adventure, following that trail from beginning to end. Today's guest, John Liu, did just that. He hiked the Pacific Crest Trail from beginning to end, and he's going to talk about that today. Yes, it's not running, but it is really spectacular, and what an athletic thing to do, to take months off, to leave your job, to leave everything behind, and go and follow a huge dream like that. Yeah, we trail runners, we ultra runners, we do pretty amazing things, but this is really, really amazing. And what an adventure. So I'm going to talk to him about that. I'm going to give just a few facts about the Pacific Crest Trail. There are three major trails that it's called the Triple Crown trails in the U.S. The first one that was established was the Appalachian Trail. That's the East Coast. That runs from Georgia to Maine. And then the Pacific Crest Trail, that is from Mexico to Canada, and it runs through California, Oregon, and Washington states. And then the Continental Divide Trail, that goes from New Mexico through Colorado, a little bit of Idaho, Wyoming, and Montana to Canada. And those are the three major trails. If you do all three, it's called the Triple Crown. And each one takes a little bit of different times. The Appalachian Trail is considered the quote-unquote fastest, then the PCT, the Pacific Crest Trail, and then the Continental Divide, which usually takes the longest. And it really depends on, you usually start doing the Pacific Crest Trail in the spring, and you end before the winter season starts in Washington, which starts a little earlier than it does in California. But you have to really be careful, because if the winter season is early in the Sierras, you can't start too early. But you don't want to start too late, because you have to go through the desert of California. So it's a tricky thing. So we're going to talk to, I'll give you a little bit more facts after we talk to John. And anyway, here is John Liu talking about his trip that he did this year on the Pacific Crest Trail. Will you welcome to the program John Liu? He is an amazing hiker, a thru hiker, I should say. Hi, John. How are you?
Hey, Martha. I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing good. I said on a past show that when I was down and out and I couldn't walk at all, I couldn't barely walk. I started following a bunch of thru hikers, and you were the guy I followed on the PCT. I followed one on the Continental Divide Trail and one on the Appalachian Trail as well. But I followed you all the way to the end. I saw you just released your last episode, but you were amazing. You put out some incredible videos about your adventure. I wanted to start at the beginning. When did you start thinking about hiking the Pacific Crest Trail?
Yeah, I just want to say thanks for that, Martha. Thanks for following me. I feel honored.
No problem.
Yeah, I started thinking about it about 2 years before I actually started. Though I didn't really make any specific plans or anything. I was working full time and in Silicon Valley. I didn't have time for anything. But yeah, the thought crossed my mind. I saw a few vlogs on about the trail, and I'm like, wow, that looks pretty cool. And anybody who knows me knows that usually when I get that thought, like, yeah, wow, that's pretty cool, I'll go and do it. So at that point, I already knew it was going to happen. I remember because I had a great relationship with my boss. I still do. And I remember at some point, like it was like a year and a half before I even left. I told him, hey, like someday I want to do the Pacific Crest Trail, like hint, hint. So I might not be here too long. Like, he's like, no, you're not going to do it. But yeah. So it was about 2 years, before I actually started.
Wow. So how long from start to finish, how long did it take you to plan for it?
Yeah. Well, theoretically I was supposed to be planning for like a year, but I think my planning was for like 2 weeks.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So like, I don't know why I procrastinate so much, but also, that's just part of my personality too. Like I like things to be spontaneous. I don't really like to plan everything out. And I never did. So usually, when I take big trips or anything like that, it'll just be like, I would think about it a week before and I'd be like, yeah, that sounds cool. And then the week after I would just go and do it. So it was kind of like that with the PCT. I know the thought of the PCT had crossed my mind 2 years ahead, but I mean, like I just planned for 2 weeks and apparently that was enough, I guess. Well, I will say this though. I think like anybody can tell you who's done the trail, like you can plan all you want, but in the first week, I think everything goes to hell anyways. So yeah. So what date did you start? It was May 15th. Yeah.
That's late in the season, right?
It's pretty darn late in the season. Yeah. So I got a lot of brutal heat. I mean, so there are pros and cons of starting early versus starting late. And the con of starting late is you get a really hot desert. Mm-hmm. Right. But the pro is you don't really get snow in the Sierra. Mm-hmm. So
true. Yeah. True. That's true. Yeah. I remember the first part of it. That heat was just knocked you for a while.
Oh, it was so brutal. In the beginning, I think like the temperatures were like mid 80s. So, I mean, that's okay. But, like for me, when I started, mid 80s were terrible. Like I was just absolutely miserable. And then you basically get that kind of heat all the way, for 700 miles. It's just heat. And there was a week where like the whole West Coast where probably a lot of the country was in a heat wave, right? Mm. I think that was sometime in early or mid June. And that week, oh my goodness, it was just a whole week of triple digits. And the hottest day for me it was above 110.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's terrible. And I don't know, some of your listeners might be like, oh, 110 is nothing because, we got the Badwater race, we do 130, but for me, I've never acclimated to heat ever. And that, I guess that was my heat acclimation that week. 110 was absolute torture. And like, I wasn't smart, like everybody else who, like took shelter during the day or like did a lot of night hiking. I was just hiking, in the hottest parts of the day.
Well, I noticed you did your own thing, which is kind of cool. Most of the time I saw you were by yourself. Did you hike with others at any time?
Very rarely. There were points where I did hike with others, mm-hmm. but I'd say 99% of the time I was solo. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I definitely like doing my own thing. I think, I mean, I like it. And it was also out of necessity because of the way I film, mm-hmm. right? Like nobody wants to wait for you to, set up your tripod and right. Like, yeah. Yeah.
That's true. Cause you're filming. Oh my gosh. You take you have to, listener, when you need to go watch his film. It's art. It is beautiful the way he films, but I know he takes a lot of time with his films because he'll go out, he'll film himself walking away, but then you have to remember he has to go back and pick up his camera. And there's one point you're in the Sierras that you film yourself going up this amazing pass, but then you remember you have to go back down the pass and pick up your camera. I remember that one.
Yeah, that one was the end of Forester Pass, where it's that final climb, and I was at the bottom of that climb, and I thought about it for a hot 10 minutes. Like, okay, do I do this twice? And then I just decided, screw it, let's do it. It'd be good for the video, so I did it.
That was pretty funny though, because you go, oh no, I have to go back and get it.
Yeah. No, it's a rough, but the good thing about that one was once I got to the top, I dropped my bag, so I can just run down without the pack. And oh my gosh, because my pack is so heavy. It's like 55 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah. With a full carry, it's about 55 pounds, which is about twice the weight of everybody else's pack. Simply because I had all this camera equipment with me. So but the thing about that is when I drop the pack, I feel like I can fly, right? Yeah. Whereas somebody else, like they're doing ultralight, so they're carrying 10 pounds. When they drop their pack, it's about the same.
You must have gotten strong though, really fast though.
Yeah. That's the benefit of having a heavy pack. I think if you can mentally endure it, I think you build up a lot of strength early on. But you also run the risk of you have a higher chance of injury too. Yeah. So my feet were, and they still are, pretty wrecked. And I think it's more so than anybody else because of my heavy pack. So they're still kind of in recovery. But I had a lot of doubts in the beginning, like whether I can actually carry the 55 pounds. And then I just kind of talked myself into it. And the way I did that is I just thought about all the people who used to do the trail, the OGs, and everybody back in the day, before ultralight, like that, their packs were 60 plus pounds. Right. So, I mean, if they could do it, I know I could do it too. So I just went with it.
Yeah. And they just wore regular tennis shoes. It wasn't or just these horrible, big, giant, trail shoes that hiking shoes that must have weighed 10 pounds.
Yeah, definitely. Our generation, this generation of hikers, we're definitely spoiled,
Yeah.
Like we want everything light. Everything has to be, lighter, easier. It's, I try to not think that way.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you the first month. Oh my goodness. Like every other day when because you bump into the same people over and over, you kind of just you kind of leapfrog and each other. But every time I would see somebody that I already saw before, they would keep asking me, when are you shipping this home? When are you shipping that home? The camera, that's so heavy. Go get a GoPro. And I had to just tell them so many times that, I'm not shipping it home. I'm going to carry it all the way. They never believed me. And then I think by month 2 or 3, I think they just gave up. They're like, yeah, he's going to carry it all the way.
So now, when did you finish? What date did you finish?
September 28th was my terminus day.
So May, June, July, August. That's pretty good though. That's pretty fast.
It's good, but I also skipped 500 miles of fire. So yeah, that helped a lot. Although, yeah.
You kind of had to though. I mean, it was too smoky.
It's not even the smoke. I think you can hike and smoke if you wear a proper mask. It's just that some parts of the trail are just actually closed. You just can't go through it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the smoke did get pretty bad in certain sections. Even with my skipping, I still had a lot of smoke. For example, at Crater Lake, that was so unfortunate, right?
Yeah.
Because Crater Lake is gorgeous. So I hear, but I didn't get to see the gorgeous part of it because it was all smoke. I didn't even see the lake, it was just covered in a layer of smoke.
Yeah.
So that was a big bummer.
You can always go back to it.
Yeah. Yeah. And the good thing is I live on the West Coast, so it's kind of right there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness! I was going to ask you something here, and I just totally forgot. Oh yeah, so what was your what's your trail name?
My trail name is Apocalypse.
And where did you get that from?
Yeah, so it was first proposed at Warner Springs, and that's at about mile 100. Mm-hmm. And that was Warner Springs is where I got my first resupply box that I shipped to myself. And in the box, I had a ton of food. So and at next to the post office, there are like these picnic tables. So I just like dumped the box out and I laid out all my food there. And another hiker walked by, and she was like, "You look like you're prepping for the apocalypse." So yeah, no, literally I had about 10 days worth of food and for like a 4-day section. I mean, come on. I didn't know what I was doing. Like this is just like first 100 miles, my first box. I had no idea what I was doing. But that's part of what I'm talking about. All this planning you're doing, like, nothing goes the way it's supposed to go. Like my shoes, I had gotten blisters my first, on day 2 or 3, and I had worn those shoes for months before, and I never gotten blisters, So like things are very different out on the trail. Your gear that you think and that you tested, you think will work, like things happen, like it's different when you're doing distance hiking day after day. So yeah, like the planning thing, it's just, I don't know. Yeah.
Well, you probably didn't wear them carrying such heavy pack for hours at a time too. It sits different. Your feet feel it differently.
Yeah, I actually did. So when I was doing a little bit of training, I had the full carry. So I was hiking with the 55-pound bag. But what I wasn't doing was the distance, right? So I was training at like 10 miles a day. And, on the PCT, you're hiking way more than that. And what I didn't have was the sequential hiking, like day after day of doing that, right? So usually I would just go on the weekend when I didn't have work, and that would just be for one day. But things are very different when you have to do it day after day. So I think that's where the shock, the surprise came with my shoes. Like they did great if you only have to do a day trip, but when you have to do, hike every single day, they just don't work.
Yeah. So did you get used? What shoes were you wearing?
Those were the Hoka Torrents.
Oh, those are nice shoes. So did you get used to them, or did you have to switch them up?
I swapped them out in Julian. So this was at mile 70, about day 4, I think. Yeah. So I swapped them out for the Ultra Lone Peaks. Okay. Which are like, I mean, everybody wears the Lone Peaks. Yeah. Yeah. There's like 3 shoes that people wear on the PCT. You got the Lone Peaks, you got the Hoka Speed Goats, and you got the Topo Ultra Ventures.
Right. I'm an Ultra girl myself. I love my Ultras, but I like Temps more than I do the Lone Peaks. I just prefer them over the Lone Peaks.
Yeah, I hate the Lone Peaks too. I don't know how I stuck with the Lone Peaks for 1,500 miles. I should have. Yeah, they're terrible shoes for me.
The heel is too wide for me. The Temps they're a little bit more snug in the heel that I like. So they just feel better.
Yeah, so there's that. And then for me, like Lone Peak is the shoe you don't want to wear when you have a heavy pack because there's no cushioning. True. There's no cushioning. No. And then so the zero cushioning plus the zero drop, I mean, they just that combination completely ruins your feet. Like I have so many feet issues right now.
See, I like the zero drop, but because I wear a different Ultra at work all day and I like it. But the Temps I really like. They have a little bit more cushion and they're just a little bit more snug in the heel. I like the room in the toes because I've broken my baby toes so many times, so they're a little bit bigger. So, but I don't need the space in my heel. So I kind of like that. But I just prefer the Temps, but I don't think I've worn another shoe other than Ultra in a long time. So thank goodness I can wear them to work. So it's all good. Now, what was the hardest thing you had to get used to when you first started?
Oh, I mean, I don't even know if I ever got used to this, but it's the filming. Like when people ask me what the hardest part of my hike was, I literally tell them it's filming and editing. And that's not a joke. I mean, the extra amount of time and the extra distance that I have to walk, I mean, that alone is very taxing. But I think the even more challenging part is the mental aspect, right? Like you can imagine, okay, I've walked 25 miles today. It's like 8 p.m., 9 p.m. It's getting really dark. It might be raining. I'm tired. I'm hungry. But oh, look, beautiful view. I need to stop and film this. You know, like I face that every night, right? Like, but I do it. You know, it's and it could be that. It could be the heat, like 110 degrees weather. Yeah, you guys watched it, right? That means I stopped and filmed while I was hiking in 110. Like, do you think I wanted to do that? Like, I definitely did not want to do that. But then it's like, this is for prosperity. And then like, I know one day I'm going to want to rewatch this. And so whatever. I just sucked it up.
Yeah. You know, what I liked about your film, especially, is that you didn't talk too much in it. You talked when it was necessary, but you didn't overdo it. I watched some others who just talk so much. It's just like, let the scenery do the talking. You don't have to talk all the time. Don't whine. You're out there for fun. Just enjoy and let the scenery do the talking. And you did that. You allowed the trail, the location, the wilderness speak for itself.
Yeah, nature speaks loudly.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I figured there's a lot of people already doing the talking type of vlogs. You guys don't need another one of those. And also, I think it's the way when I chose the format to do this in third person. One is I wanted to capture the heart of the nature and like the beauty of the trail. And I think this format does that very well. But the other thing is like, I was thinking, when I go back and rewatch these in, 10 or 20 years, like how would I want to watch it? Right. And like, I don't want to watch myself talking about how much my feet hurt or how great the burger was at that town.
Right.
I want to relive the beauty of the trail. And yeah, that's why I chose to film this way.
Yeah. Yeah. It works really well. What was your favorite section?
Yeah. So for the longest time, it was the Sierra. I think a lot of people would say that, but once I got to Washington, that all kind of changed. Yeah. Washington was the whole state is gorgeous, and then there are sections there where it's just absolutely stunning and nothing else on the PCD compares to it. For example, Goat Rocks. It's Goat Rocks Wilderness. I had seen vlogs before on YouTube, regarding the PCT, but I had never seen any part of the Washington section. And that was by design. Like I didn't want to spoil anything for me. So, when I got to Washington, everything was a surprise. I had no idea what to expect. And then when I hit Goat Rocks, I mean, my gosh, like I don't know where that came from, right? Like that's so beautiful. I mean, it beats anything the Sierra had. But besides that, I mean, Washington it's a beautiful state in general. You had the fall foliage, and I think what also made it better than Sierra was that, like when I was there, you didn't have mosquitoes, and the Sierra mosquitoes are torture. Oh my goodness, they are absolutely torture. Yeah, so the passes in Washington are easier too. So you got the same views, you have easier passes, no mosquito, and then you have Goat Rocks. Ugh.
And you didn't have a lot of snow to deal with when you were up there, so that was good. You had an easier time up there. If you had an early snow season, it might have made it different.
Well, wait till you watch my last video.
Oh, maybe not. Maybe I spoke too soon.
Yeah, my last day, my terminus day was in snow.
Okay. Well, yeah. See, I didn't watch the last one, so
yeah, it's funny. Yeah.
So, what was your least favorite section?
Oh, that's tough. I think I love the desert. I mean, a lot of people hated it but I think to me the desert has its own kind of beauty. My least favorite, it's really hard to say. It's probably the Oregon section, just because of all the fire and smoke, and that section. It's just, I mean, it's pretty flat, and Yeah, I think if there hadn't been such a crazy fire season, I might have liked it a bit more. But it's not that I didn't like it. It's just not as memorable as, say, the Sierra or the Washington section or the desert.
Now, I know that you had in your first drop off when you got your food box, you had like 10 days worth of food, but I know there were some parts of the Sierra where you were short on food. So I guess you miscalculated how much food to send yourself?
That's there's irony there, right? Because my name is Apocalypse because I brought too much food, but I actually ran out of food 3 times on trail.
Oh my goodness.
The Sierra one, that was the biggest, that was bad. A lot of hikers ran out of food in the Sierra. Mm. And I think what happens is you plan for like an 8 or 9 day, carry. And you do carry that, but you also burn more calories there. And that's the thing we don't account for. And also all of us, we tend to go up Mount Whitney too. And that's also a calorie intensive day. Mm. Yeah. And it also adds a day to your carry. But mainly, yeah, the passes, I mean, they're all above 10,000 feet. So your elevation gain every day is like, I don't know, 5,000 to 7,000, plus. And yeah, you're just burning so much more calories that, you wouldn't think about that if you didn't know to plan ahead. So for me, I was like 2.5 days short of food.
Oh my goodness.
So I was rationing. Yeah.
That's hard. That's really hard because you burn thousands of calories doing that elevation like that. It's crazy.
Yeah. So my last couple of days, I was functioning on 1,500 calories a day. Oh. And when you have that little food, you're trying to go up a pass. It's just, it's bad. It's but I wasn't really in any danger per se. Because there's so many other hikers out there, especially JMT hikers, JMT's the John Muir Trail, and JMT hikers tend to overpack on food. Mm-hmm. So if I like desperately needed it, I could have just, begged them.
That's true. That trail gets a lot of use. I haven't done the whole JMT, but I've been on parts of that, and it gets a lot of traffic. Yeah,
it does.
It gets busy. Yeah. Was there any part of the trail where you felt like giving up?
No, never. The thought never crossed my mind, not even for a second. I think, like for me, I think I lacked physical preparation going into this, but I feel like my mental preparation is very good. And my pain tolerance is pretty high too. Mm-hmm. So I usually, when I decide to do something like this, like I'll finish it. Like there's no doubt in my mind about that. Despite, so that's the thing, right? To do this trail, it's a mental game. It's definitely like 95% mental and 5% physical. Definitely, if you want to finish. Cause it's not, I know I make my videos look very relaxing and peaceful, but the truth is when you're out there, most of the time you're in pain. Like there's some form of discomfort. Your feet hurt, or you're hungry, you're tired, a joint pain or something, like something's hurting. And to deal with that day after day after day for 4.5 months, you just really you need to really want to be out there to finish. Right. And so I started out, I think, with the right mentality. And so even in the hardest times, I never really thought about quitting, not even for a bit.
That's amazing. So Trail Angels, you ran into some really nice ones, didn't you?
I did. And the best ones all came at the end when I was, so you watch these YouTube videos and you see Trail Angels on trail a lot, like all they're cooking food or they're handing out beers or whatever. I got none of that until I hit Oregon. So I'm like, where are these Trail Angels that people keep talking about, like the biggest trail magics I got were, rides into town or, and bless their hearts. I mean, some of these people are so nice. And I mean, I have stories about that, but the type of trail magic that like I thought I would be getting more of, the like people setting up tables and cooking pancakes. And I got that in Oregon. That was my first one. And then I had 2 in Washington.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. In Oregon, that was the day I did, there was a day I did 40 miles. I think you commented on that video.
Yeah. I remember that.
Yeah. So that was the day I ran into the Trail Magic, and they were making pancakes. And I'm like, uh-oh, like, cause I was trying to do this 24-hour Oregon challenge and I wasn't really successful, but whatever. And that's where you walk 24 hours straight and you just try to do as many miles as you can. And so that day I was rushing. I was rushing. I was trying to go fast. And I see this Trail Magic. I'm like, oh, this looks nice. Pancakes. I'm like, uh-oh, I got to stop. Now I can't go fast anymore. I got to stop for that. So, but it was such a treat. I mean, Sparkles and Hannah, I think that was their names. They were so kind. And it was also raining that day. So it was nice to have like a hot meal, yeah. Like things like that are game changers, right? Like it's just, you can be having such a crappy day and then you see something like that and your mood is just lifted, right? I had the same thing in Washington too. This was another time I ran out of food. I was about 25 miles out of Snoqualmie Pass. So I was rushing to get into town. I had to get there that day. And then it was raining hard that day too. And then I saw these gentlemen, making chili dogs. And so that solved all my problems because, they had this tarp thing set up. And so like I had shelter, I had food. So then I didn't have to get into town that day. And they were handing out, smart wool socks and they had gloves. So, I mean,
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I just happened to need new socks, right? I happened to need new socks and I happened to need new gloves. So things just kind of work out like that sometimes.
That's amazing. Yeah. That is amazing. Handing out smart wool socks. They're like your best friends ever.
Yeah. I gave each of them a long hug.
Oh, that's wonderful. That is wonderful. The one thing that I am amazed by is that you never hear of anyone hitchhiking except through hikers. I would be afraid to hitchhike personally, but you hear of all these through hikers hitchhiking. That's to me is just still an odd thing.
Yeah, I was my first time doing that was in Julian. You had to hitch 12 miles into town. And that was very nerve-wracking for me because that was my first time, right? Mm-hmm. But apparently that's the norm. That's what you're supposed to do. Like I don't know anybody. I guess you can do this whole trail without hitchhiking, but you would have to sometimes walk 30 miles into town. So good luck with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an extra 2 days, right? At least. I guess it's possible, but it's definitely expected that you hitch.
Yeah.
And also in these towns, like they're very welcoming to hikers.
Mm-hmm.
I think partly because a lot of their they're small towns and a lot of their economy would depend on hikers coming through. So yeah, they're more than happy to help you. And also besides that, they're just generally nice people too.
That's cool. Yeah, that's good to have. Yeah. I guess their economy does depend on hikers coming through to spend their money for sure.
Yeah. And also a lot of them, they do it as a way to pay it forward because they themselves, probably did the PCT at some point or some other through hike and they themselves had this hospitality given to them. So, it's kind of like a way to pay it forward. And I would love to do this too in the future, right? Before I never thought about ever hitching a ride and I never thought about picking somebody up. But now it's like, if I see somebody with a backpack on the side of the road, yeah, I'll pick them up.
If they're near a big trail, if it's near a big city, maybe not.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you finished, how did you get back to civilization?
Yeah. So in a normal non-COVID year, once you reach the terminus, you walk 8 miles farther into Canada. And then you take a shuttle to Vancouver. Okay. That's like the typical route. Mm-hmm. But this year you can't walk into Canada. Mm. So we all had to walk 30 miles back.
Oh my goodness.
To Harts Pass. Yeah, that's the last thing you want to do, right? Like after you're done, you don't want to walk 30 miles back. So you walk 30 miles back to Harts Pass, and then you have to hitch a ride into the nearest town, which would be either Mazama or Winthrop. So I went into Winthrop, and from there they had a shuttle that went to Seattle.
Mm. So was the first
you're in Seattle? Yeah,
I see. What was the first meal that you had afterwards?
I think so usually when I go into town, I get like a large pizza and probably some sides with it. I tend to over order too. Yeah, because you're so hungry, you don't know what you want to eat. And then yeah, so sometimes I would get like 2 large pizzas and I would finish like 1.5. Yeah, so I just had a large pizza. Yeah, nothing special. But I say that, but those, like, you don't think about it, like pizza and burgers and fries and those are special when you're on the trail. Like you just want nothing else. You know, when you're hiking and hungry, oh my gosh. You know, but like being back in civilization now, it's like, yeah, I can have a pizza any day I want. It's nothing special, right? But out there, man, yeah, that's all you want. That and Coca-Cola.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's like, especially in the desert section, my gosh, like everybody I met, they're just like craving beer and craving Coke.
Oh yeah.
And even if they like never drink soda in real life, I don't know, like for some reason they just want a Coke.
Oh yeah. I never drink soda. I never drink Coke except after a trail race or after a really long trail run. I want that because I want and I like it a little warmer. It doesn't have to be super cold. I just like that carbonation and that sugar. It just tastes so good. It tastes so good. Oh my goodness. I love it. And that's the only time I ever have it is after a trail race or after a really long trail run. I just love it.
Yeah.
Best thing.
I think sugar is the thing. Yeah. I think like sugar. Yeah.
And I like the carbonation too. I just like the carbonation.
Definitely.
It makes my stomach feel good.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I even started packing out Coke like in the later days, you know, because it's so nice too when you pack out a can of Coke, and then maybe on like day 3 of a 5-day section. I mean, it's the best Coke.
Oh, nice, very nice. Yeah. How long did it take to edit your videos?
So long, way too long. You know. Oh, okay. When other people get into town, right? They'll just, maybe they'll get a room or whatever. They'll set up tents at a campground in town or whatever they do. And then they'll go have a beer. What I do is I have to get a room because I need good Wi-Fi, and I'll spend the whole day editing the footage. You know, that's my days in town. And so sometimes I might not edit enough, and I'm like, oh man, I need to prep another video. So I'll spend another day in town. And that's costly. That's costly and time consuming and mentally taxing too.
Yeah.
So those were my 0 days, right? 0 is when you don't hike a single mile in a day. Yeah. So that's why I say, you know, filming and editing was definitely the hardest part. If I didn't have to do that, like I would have a lighter pack. I wouldn't have to worry about this editing stuff. I think life would just be so easy on the PCT.
Well, it will be easier.
Yeah.
I don't think it's easy out there doing what you do. It's a huge challenge. I mean, through hiking, we trail runners and ultra runners think that's tough. Well, through hiking is a whole different animal. It's just a whole different thing. It's like it's a job pretty much for a few months. It really is. You get up, you go hike and do that for 12, 14 hours. And then you eat and you go to sleep and you get up and do it the same thing every day.
It's a mental grind. It definitely is. But I would think, you know, ultra running, it tests like, it's probably similarly mentally challenging, right? Like if you're doing 100-miler or something, I'm sure by mile 70, you're just done.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
yeah, it's probably more painful because you're doing a little bit more all at once. You're doing everything all at once. So instead of doing 100 miles in, 4 or 5 days, you're doing it in 24 hours.
Right.
So it's a little bit more painful. It's a little bit more painful.
That is just insane.
Yeah.
Right?
But think of all the food you can eat, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why we do it, to eat.
Yeah. I guess that's the difference. Like out there on the trail, you're just on your own. You know, But I guess, yeah, after your 100-miler, you can go eat anything you want also, right?
Exactly. And we eat during it. And the thing is, it's not all run. Like, I haven't done 100. I've just done 50 Ks, and like uphill, we'll power walk. We'll walk up the hills, and then we run down and on the flats.
Right.
And yeah. Because we want to preserve our energy going up the hills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, Martha, after listening to your show with Gerald, I think I really want to do Badwater someday.
Oh, you should.
Like, if I can ever get into shape enough to do like ultras, I would love to do Badwater. Because
you should.
Yeah, because it's just like, from what I gather, it's purely a mental grind, right? And I love those kinds of like challenges.
Mm-hmm.
It's not even like a physical thing. It's just like, can you endure this heat?
Well, yeah, you just start slow. Just start running. And you want to start running. Just start for like 2 or 3 weeks. Start running for 2 minutes and then walk a minute, then run 2 minutes and walk a minute. Do that for a couple of weeks and then extend it out. Run for 3 minutes and walk a minute, 3 minutes and walk a minute. And then just start extending it out and just go slow and just keep your heart rate down and just don't go fast. Just go slow and go on trails. And pretty soon you'll find a rhythm of your own. Just don't go super fast. Just keep it slow and you'll find yourself.
Yeah, I'll give it a shot. I've always been a bad runner. Like I think cardio has always been my issue.
Well, you've got the base now. I mean, geez, you walked 40 miles.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, you could do that. You hiked it.
Yeah, so, I think maybe I have the legs, but even if you hiked through mountain passes with 55 pounds on your back. You've got the lungs for it. yeah, but I don't know if I have the heart for it. You know, like it's just like even now, like yesterday, I tried to jog for like 2 miles. Yeah, I could only do like half a mile.
But see, you're doing too much too soon.
Okay,
go slow, run slowly for 2 minutes, and then stop and walk for 2 minutes, and then run for 2 minutes, and then stop and walk for 2 minutes. Or run a block slowly, and then walk a block. Run a block, walk a block. You don't want to try to do 2 miles all at once. That's too much too soon.
Yeah, so, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Definitely.
And then just slowly increase it out.
Yeah, I think what I was trying to say is that like even if I can run, walk 40 miles in a day, doesn't mean I can jog a mile, right? Like it's weird like that. I don't know how that works.
Yeah. It's getting your body used to it because it's a different sport.
Yeah, definitely.
You just have to ease into it. That way, once you, and pavement is hard. Pavement is boring and it's hard on the body. You do it once in a while, but if you have access to trails and you live in the South Bay, there's plenty of trails out there. Just go out and go on the trails. Trail running is different than pavement. You have to pick up your feet more. You have to look down a little bit more at what you're doing. Don't stare at the ground, but just look more. Be willing to jump a little bit more over the rocks. When you get uphill, walk up the hills, run slowly down the hills and on the flats, and just look out where you're going.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah.
I actually ran the final mile to the terminus.
Wow.
I mean, it was
amazing.
All downhill. It was all downhill. I mean.
2,600 miles, 2,650, right? It's 2,650 miles, right? The piece.
Yeah.
And you ran the last mile. Amazing.
I ran the last mile, and
amazing.
I mean, I think it was a combination of things. I was just ready to be done.
And then you had to walk back 30 miles.
No, you know what it actually was, though? It was that morning. So I had set up camp 15 miles from the terminus. So I would do a 15 in and 15 back.
Oh, that's not bad. Okay.
Yeah. So because then I can slack pack.
Oh, okay. That's not too bad.
Right. Which allows me to run, because I definitely can't run with a 50-pound bag.
Okay. Okay.
So I was carrying only about 10 pounds.
Oh, cool. Okay. That's not bad at all then. All right.
Yeah, but the reason I had to start running is because the morning I left, I told you there was snow, so it was snowing pretty hard, and the elevation was pretty high too. So I was a little bit worried that once I got to the terminus, if I spent too much time there, when I had to hike back, it might be too dangerous. So I had to pick up the pace at the end, and I didn't really get a chance to spend too much time at the terminus either. I was there for about half an hour or something. and people usually spend a couple hours there.
Yeah. If it's snowing and you're worried about your things getting covered in snow, it might be bad.
Well, so my tent was pretty sheltered. I picked a really good spot. I wasn't really worried about that. It's just there were some parts of the hike that were pretty dangerous. You're on the side of like this cliff.
Ooh, yeah.
And if it's too snowed in, you're probably going to die.
Oh boy.
That's
scary.
You take one of those tumbles and you can kiss it goodbye. I mean, some parts are really sketchy like that. But fortunately for me, the hike back was beautiful. Actually, it stopped snowing. And all the snow that had accumulated had already melted. So it was perfect.
Oh, good.
So there was no need for the rush, but better to be safe, right?
Yeah, exactly. That is so cool. So you're going to start trail running then, right?
I'm thinking about it.
We're going to make a convert out of you.
I think your podcast said, like, it's very convincing. I mean,
cool.
You're very motivating, and it's definitely I listen to your podcast a lot when I'm doing my final 5 miles of the day, because like it's interesting, and it also gets my mind off of the pain. But I've listened to a lot of your episodes that way, just like every day. Okay, let's put on Martha. Yeah, you helped me so much, with this hike. You don't even know.
Well, you can also do fast packing too.
Fast packing?
You know what fast packing is?
No, I don't know what that is.
Fast packing is when you do a combination of just really fast hiking and trail running, and you use the lightest equipment you can. And they're kind of fanatical about it. I've done backpacking in my younger days. I'm not interested in carrying a super heavy pack, but I would be more interested in fast packing where you use the lightest equipment possible. Now they get a little fanatical about light. It's all down to how many ounces things are, but they'll go out for like 3 or 4 days and use the lightest equipment and trail run and hike as fast as possible. Whereas instead of spending 2 weeks doing something, they will spend 3 or 4 days out there doing it. And so they'll hike. I mean, they'll camp. They'll backpack, but they'll do it fast so they can get it done in half the time. And it's all about how much things weigh. They're fanatical. They don't take anything extra. It's all minimal gear so that they use the lightest sleeping bags, the lightest tents or tarps, the lightest everything. And they get and they may not take a whole lot extra clothes or whatever. So they just do it as light as possible.
Yeah. I mean, you can get very fanatical about this lightweight stuff.
Yeah. They get kind of geeked out totally about it.
Yeah. I met a guy. He's, the shoes, he just had Crocs.
My God. Well,
he had Crocs, and then the only clothes he had was, a shirt and a kilt.
Oh,
so no underwear, by the way.
My God. Okay. He can go off on his own.
Yeah. And, what else was there? I mean, yeah, you can get pretty crazy with this lightweight stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, his pack weight was like 8 or 9 pounds though. I mean, like to get it that light, with including a tent and everything, that's pretty amazing.
That's wild. That sometimes it's and it's not cheap to do it that way because the lightest weight stuff is the most expensive. So you can spend a lot of money getting the lightest weight stuff.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Yeah, the lighter it goes, the heavier it is, the more expensive it is.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not cheap, but you can check out my interview with Jeff Peltier. He's really into that. He actually puts out some really good videos too. Check out his video channel. He's really into fast packing, and he does a lot of the trail running he lives in British Columbia. So he does a lot of trail running in the mountains. He's big time into that kind of stuff. Right now he's in the Namib desert doing this insane desert race for days. So
that sounds so amazing though.
I know it's pretty crazy.
Would you ever do something like that?
If I was younger, yeah, I'd love to do Badwater if I was younger, but yeah, it's not really in my scope right now. I just want to run.
Yeah.
That's all I want to do.
Totally understand.
Yeah. But yeah. So what is next for you, John? What are you doing? What are you thinking about doing right now?
Yeah. Right now Well, New Zealand has popped up on my radar recently. I want to do the Te Araroa. It's a relatively newer trail. It's about 1,800 miles from the North Island all the way to the South Island. That'd be pretty cool. But I mean, yeah, I guess I need to start planning that again. Like I'm procrastinating really hard. Right now I'm just trying to recover my feet. You know, I'm chilling. I'm chilling in Massachusetts with my mom right now and just relaxing, and catching up with some people. But yeah, New Zealand. And also, I mean, obviously the CDT and AT are on my bucket list too, but for some reason, I don't want to do them right away. I kind of want to go international for a bit and do some of the trails abroad, and then just kind of come back to those. And yeah,
you could also you could think that you could do some hiking in the Alps, and that way you don't even have to camp. You just stay in those cabins that they have there.
Yeah, that'd be really cool too. You know, I'm not in such a big rush to do another 4 or 5 month trip. Like that's. And personally, it's not really my style to go on that long of a trip. It's just a bit too long, you know, but now that I've done the PCT, I have to go do the AT and CDT at some point.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
They're still in the pipeline. It's just, I need a break from that. Right.
Yeah. I hear you. Definitely. But the CDT, boy, that's something that is, if I was, that is really, really wild, but what an adventure.
Yeah. The CDT, it'd be fun. It would probably be my next of the Triple Crown because the AT, I just don't want to do it. To be honest, you know why? It's because, you know, the PCT, what I love about the PCT is that, you know, every 2 weeks or so, you get a completely big change of scenery.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And like with the AT, it's just like you're kind of trapped in trees the whole time. And and also like the foresty kind of environment is the one I don't like. You know, I like big open spaces where you kind of feel like you're on a different planet or something. And I got a lot of that on the PCT, but on the AT, I feel like, you know, I'm just in trees. I'm on planet Earth, you know, and it's just, it feels so, I don't want to be caged in, you know, I hate that. And even on the PC, you know, when I set up camp, I tried not to camp in the valleys. I try to camp at the peaks because the peaks, you have this open, vast views, but in the valleys, you're just, again, you're in trees, you know? So yeah. I'm going to hold off on the AT for as long as I can.
It seems like a lot more crowded too in the AT.
Oh yeah. It's so crowded now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it'll probably be worse when I decide to do it. Although when I do it, I think I will go southbound, which is definitely much better crowd-wise.
That would be interesting. Yeah. You wouldn't be in such a rush to get up to the north before winter either. I don't think.
Right. Yeah. The AT is becoming known as like more of like the party trail. So if you want like that social experience, then yeah, you do the AT and you go northbound and yeah, you're going to have fun.
Yep.
Right. But for me, like I like my solitude when I'm out there and
yeah, for sure. Well, thank you very much for joining us today. This was enlightening. And if anyone wants an adventure doing a thru hike, and it doesn't have to be a long 4 months. There are lots of smaller ones. You could do the John Muir Trail for 3 weeks or the Colorado Trail or the Arizona Trail. There's lots of smaller ones you could do for thru hike, or think of fast packing, or we'll do an episode on fast packing in the future. But any of these are really, really fun and a different thing to think about. And best of luck on everything that you do in the future, John, and keep us up to date. Okay.
Yeah. Thanks a lot for having me, Martha. This was really fun.
Yeah, it was fun. And good luck and talk soon.
Talk soon. Thank you.
Thanks very much, John. That was terrific and gave us a lot of insight. Maybe it will motivate some of you to go out and do a thru hike. And you don't have to do long ones. You don't have to take 4 or 5 or 6 months out of your life. You can take a week, 2 weeks out. Some people do the Tahoe Rim Trail, and that takes maybe 2 to 3 weeks out to do it. You could do it as a fast pack and do it in 4 or 5 days. There is, if you go back to watch Jeff Peltier's channel on YouTube, I think he did the fast pack of the Tahoe Rim Trail in 4 days, but he's very fast too, so it might take you a little longer. I don't know. But the Pacific, here's some more information on the Pacific Crest Trail. It goes through the desert, starts in the desert, and then it goes through the Angeles Mountains, and then you go through more desert, the Mojave Desert, and then you get to the Sierra Nevada mountain range, and then it goes out of there to Lake Tahoe, and then from Lake Tahoe it goes to, and then in the Sierra Nevadas it merges kind of with the John Muir Trail. Then out of Lake Tahoe it goes to the North Sierras, and then through Mount Lassen, and then it crosses over to the Trinity Alps, and then up into Oregon. It gets through the Siskiyous and to Crater Lake, through the Umpqua National Forest, and then up through the Willamette, and you go past all these beautiful mountains in Oregon. Depending on the fire season, you may not see them. I don't know. You go past Mount Hood, through the Columbia River Gorge, and there's you see some beautiful waterfalls there, and then you go into Washington State, go past Mount St. Helens, up past through Mount Rainier, and then up into towards Canada. So you see some amazing things. It just takes a while to get there. Most hikers do average like 20 miles per day or more. You have to get yourself averaged. You do take some days off. Occasionally people take 0 days, which are where you don't hike anything. Nero days means you just hike very few days. Nero days, I mean, you hike very few miles in a day. And you just have to really be careful of not taking too long, because then you hit the snow in Washington. So that's always on your mind. Trail angels are people in communities who welcome hikers and help them out. They could be at the start of a trail. When you come out at a trail, there may be someone there with a van making breakfast for you, or hot dogs, or lunch, or there may be a cooler there with frosty beverages or sandwiches or something like that. It happens. They may be there just to give you a can of Coke or Gatorade or some just water there. It's really kind of cool. And sometimes they may give you a place to stay or a place for you to camp, something like that, a nice shower. It happens. Or they could give you rides. It's always amazing when I first started watching these thru hikes how many people hitchhike. That's the weird part about it. I don't think I'd ever get used to hitchhiking. I guess if you're doing it with someone else, it's not that bad. But I don't know. I guess you have to do it in places. I think on the Appalachian Trail, you don't have to do it. It's pretty close to civilization that you could always pull off to a hotel somewhere. But the Pacific Crest Trail and the Continental Divide Trails are off in the middle of wilderness areas they don't have on the AT. All right, there are established thru hiker channels you can follow on YouTube, so you can find people's hikes in past years. You can always follow. But I would suggest watching John's journey first. It's really, really amazing, and his videos are artworks. He puts a lot of work into them. They are very cool. All right, so that is it, and I want to really thank him for coming on. I think that's glorious, and I would love to see him do another thru hike, or do some fast packing, or maybe start doing some trail running. That would be great. Okay, now next is Tales of the Trail. I just have a couple races today in Tales of the Trail. The first one is the Best of San Diego 100. This is a very tough race, but I wanted to have a shout out to Ray Sanchez, who was on a previous episode. I don't remember what episode it is, but you can look it up. I had him on as a guest. He finished first, tying with Andrew Glaze, with both times of 23 hours, 9 minutes, and 20 seconds in this very, very tough race. So good going, Ray. Woohoo! All right. That happened just this last weekend. And also, the Dead Horse 50 miles took place in Moab, Utah, which is just such a beautiful race. I would love to do that race someday. That happened just this past weekend. And the top 3 male runners were Jonathan Ray with a time of 6 hours, 2 minutes, and 49 seconds. Thomas Dean, 6 hours, 30 minutes, and 39 seconds. Ryan Gebhardt, 7 hours, 3 minutes, 42 seconds. Top women were Rebecca Orig of 8 hours, 37 minutes, and 3 seconds. Brooke Abb, 8 hours, 40 minutes, and 1 second. And Lisa Day, 9 hours, 10 minutes, and 38 seconds. That's all I have for Tales of the Trail. We will have a lot more next week when we talk about the Thanksgiving races that happened. We probably won't do Tales of the Trail. We'll just have it all in Thanksgiving. We'll talk about all the races that happened over Turkey Day and all the fun stuff that went on. All right. So that is it for Tales of the Trail. Thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate it. All of the links for everything we talked about will be on the website at martharunstheworld.com. The Patreon link is there. Please give. That would be amazing if you could become a Patreon patron. Just $2 a month will get you free extra episodes. If you give it the $5 or $10 a month, you will get free swag. That's right. You will get free stuff. Okay. If you want to give me your race report, that would be also excellent. You can email me at martharunstheworld@gmail.com. And with that, let's tie up our shoelaces and go for a run.